Hey guys, Bike here, and I'm back again with another Last Epoch video. This one is going to be about Merchant's Guild versus Circle of Fortune. Which one is right for you? So I'm going to come right out the gate and say it. I really like Circle of Fortune. I'm a Circle of Fortune main, but I have played Merchant's Guild, and I can definitely see the strengths to both. So what we are going to do is we're going to jump in. We're going to take a look at Circle of Fortune, the benefits that you get from Circle of Fortune, and then we're going to go over to Merchant's Guild and take a look at the benefits that we get from Merchant's Guild. Then I will have a conclusion. So if all you want to hear is a conclusion, links, timestamp down below. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump into the game and take a look at Circle of Fortune. All right, here we are at Circle of Fortune. So just like all the other factions in the game, this character is Circle of Fortune. So we generate favor. You get favor from killing enemies in the game, and it scales with the amount of XP that you get. So monoliths are the best way to gain favor. So if you haven't played in a while, like let's say you played in 1.0, you might realize, hey, there's a couple extra. That's right. So in 1.0, if you played, you had levels 1 through 10 as your reputation. This is your reputation with the faction. This is the favor that you gain. This is what you spend to interact with your faction. So we now have 12. Let's go ahead and read them quickly for Circle of Fortune. So enemy item drop rate. Enemies have a 35% chance of dropping items twice. Very nice. Upgrading Rune of Ascendance. So if anything has a tag like this, do you see that little purple icon that says rank 5? If you have that Circle of Fortune tag, if you were to use an item, I'm not going to use that rune because I really like it. If I were to use a Rune of Ascendance on, like, let's say that rain, there's a 45% chance that the Rune of Ascendance would be preserved and I can use it again. Idle drop chance. This is just cool. You know, level 3. I like it. Full set drop. Assuming this stays the same in Season 2, obviously, that's one thing that can happen. Season 2 comes along and, you know, everything gets changed. But assuming it stays the same, this could be very powerful. Full set drop, you know, with the set crafting could be very nice. Monolith Echo reward upgrade. You have a 35% chance to drop rewards to double drop. You actually get a reward from the Monolith Echo. You have a 35% chance for double rewards from Monolith Echoes. Number 6, exalted affix chance. Affixes are 50% more likely to be exalted. This one's really nice. This is where Circle of Fortune really starts to, you know, like feel pretty nice because you just start seeing purples everywhere. Double experimental items. I don't really use a lot of experimental items, but if you're playing characters and builds that use them, this is very nice. Legendary potential is doubled. This is also very nice. It couples very nice with the boss loot upgrade. So if you didn't know, in 1.0, farming bosses in Circle of Fortune for their drops was very tedious. It kind of sucked. All right, because we're not Merchant's Guild. We can't just go buy a Twisted Heart if we were looking for it. So we had to keep killing the same boss over and over again. On top of it, they didn't have the corruption catch-up mechanic that they do now. You know, the Glyphs of Envy. So you literally would, like, kill the boss, be like, frick, farm until you can get to the boss again, fight them. Now, with the boss loot upgrade thing, most of the time you do get a drop, not always. And coupled with the legendary potential chance, uniques are twice as likely to have legendary potential. It's very nice. T7 affix chance. T7 affixes are twice as common. So, you know, especially coupled with, you know, more exalteds. More exalteds. Now you're dull. I don't know what the chance is, but having more T7s is very nice. Believe me. Boss loot upgrade. Oh yeah, we already went over that one. Rare chance to exalted. So this one might apply to, I wasn't exactly sure if this applies to everything or if this applies specifically to prophecies and to when you're like going through monoliths and you find an echo reward that will give you rare items, if that's where this value comes from, it's very nice. By this point right here, you're gonna start filtering out. You're gonna start hiding exalteds, and you're only gonna have it show you the ones that you're looking for. For me personally, I like to see all exalteds, and then eventually I hide exalteds and then put a loot filter, and then eventually I start hiding all the T6s, and I'm only looking for T7s. So yeah, it's pretty nice. So prophecy reward upgrade. Prophecies grant twice as many items. So let's go ahead and take a look at what Circle of Fortune does. So what we have here is we have these prophecies. You use the telescope. You click on the telescope. Let me go ahead and move my face up here because it will be relevant. So one thing I would recommend you do, 100%. I'm just going to show you what this would look like. When you get in here, you see how all the prophecies are just little glowing beacons. I highly recommend you turn on always show reward icons and disable confirmation windows. That way when you click on something, it just gives it to you. If you have that turned off, you click on it and they're like, are you sure? So the strategy here is to farm up a lot of favor to be able to get these prophecies to target farm, because having increased drop rates is nice, but sometimes it's pretty broad, right? Sometimes you really need a piece of gear, and unlike Merchant's Guild where you can presumably go and buy it or something like it, what I like to say with Circle of Fortune is we operate on mass production. I know that's not exactly what we're doing. We're not mass producing, but the idea is you just massively like do a bunch of glove prophecies, looking for gloves, trying to find that right pair, and you're just going to go through a ton of them to find that nice, perfect thing. That's how Circle of Fortune operates. So favor, I would say even more so than Merchant's Guild, is more valuable in Circle of Fortune. So typically what you'll see is people in Circle of Fortune will just be farming, trying to get their build better, and then try and push that build to be able to farm fast and get a ton of favor. So that way, if they want to go try out a different build or a different character, they can then just go target farm what they're looking for that character quickly, and then start that new character and already have a bunch of favor there. Favor is very powerful for Circle of Fortune. It is for Merchant's Guild too, don't get me wrong, but Circle of Fortune and favor, this yeah. So you saw me pull these items off here, and you might be wondering, what are those? It says lenses. So when you get here and you're rank 1, you're probably not going to be buying prophecies right off the bat, but if you look over here where it says lenses, you're going to slot lenses into here to try and focus down what you're looking for, right? Because otherwise this whole system is RNG. So you pop some lenses in here, and these are level locked, so you'll have like one available, and then these two will be locked, and then eventually so on and so forth. By level 9, I think you'll have all 3 of them unlocked, and you can focus down what you're looking for. So let me show you a couple examples of lenses that you can use. So we have regional lenses. So this works in the armor telescope. This works in the accessory telescope. This works in the weapons telescope, and then this works in the resource telescope. I mean, I don't know if they call it resources. They might call it consumables. Idle prophecies. That's actually terrible. Excuse me. Let me take a drink real quick. Because it's not just idols that are in here. I mean, sure, there are idols, but you also have like runes of ascendancy. That's why I call this like the consumables or the tools. Oh. Let me make sure. You just want to be able to like if you have that off and you click roll, it'll ask, are you sure? One thing that makes Circle of Fortune pretty strong, in my opinion. I'm not going to say it's the strongest. of the two, spoiler, is the fact that you can get like runes of creation. You can get all sorts of crafting materials very quickly from right here. All right. So I did get sidetracked a little bit. Let's go ahead and take a look.
I knew you had something to ask. It would be my pleasure to
So
satisfy your
what we
curiosity.
got here is this is for the armors. So you have a higher chance of finding boots, belts, helmets, so on and so forth. Relics, rings, so on and so forth. Weapons, various kinds of weapons, and various kinds of consumables. And then so these are for those specific telescopes. Then you have greater lenses. So do you want to do a prophecy that doesn't require you to go into arena? You can put this one on there. Do you want to do one that doesn't require you to go into monoliths? You can put this one on there. Highly do not recommend using this. Dungeons, so on and so forth. So what's going to end up happening is you'll use whatever as you're leveling. I recommend just trying to stick to monoliths. So use stuff like hide arenas, hide dungeon events, or whatever. Hide a few of the annoying ones, but once you get to a spot where you're earning a lot of favor, refracting lens of rhyme and refracting lens of wealth are going to be your best in slot, in my opinion. So what refracting lens of wealth does is 90% more cost in favor, but all prophecies offer double the rewards. And refracting lens of rhyme, 80% more cost of all prophecies, but they offer twice as many uses. So if you notice, if you go to all of my telescopes, they have rhyme and wealth. And then I hate doing arena prophecies, so I put that literally in every single one. Now the weapons one right here, this is kind of annoying because there's so many weapons. So sometimes I'll just bite the bullet, take the arena one out, and I'll put in, like, let's say I'm looking for swords. I'll put in swords. And then you basically kind of hover over each one. If I'm looking for wands, oh, look, I got to kill 7 rare enemies in monoliths and I will get 8 wands. Now, remember, I think I mentioned this. Your prophecies grant twice as many items. So, unlike these two right here, where the number's already baked into it. Here, let me show you. See, look, it can be used twice, and it drops 6. Let me re-roll. Let me see if I can find something like that. See, look, it only gives 4, and it doesn't give me any other uses. It's because I removed these. Also, everything's a lot cheaper, right? So when you use the refracting lens of wealth and rhyme, it bakes it into the prophecy itself. So that's 16. You're getting 16 because you're getting the double rewards from here. But what it does not take into account is your prophecy reward upgrade. I believe I'm understanding that correctly. So when this drops, 16 rare amulets, times that by 2. So that's going to be 32 rare amulets. That is very powerful. So let me go over why I like Circle of Fortune. The thing is, I don't really like stopping to go buy prophecies unless I'm really trying to target farm a build. I just like blasting monos. And what Circle of Fortune does for me is it allows me to get a higher drop rate chance, and then I can just blast through monos. I don't like stopping to look for gear and go back and sell it. I don't like to go do a couple prophecies, stop, go buy more prophecies, go do them again, stop, come back. I just like to just buy a couple at the beginning, make sure, try and keep them in monoliths, and then go blast monoliths. That's the way I like to play. That's why Circle of Fortune suits me. Let's go ahead and jump over to Merchants Guild. All right, here we are in Merchants Guild. So unlike Circle of Fortune, you might notice something. Everything that you need to buy stuff is way spread out. Circle of Fortune, you got 1 vendor and 4 telescopes to go interact with. Whereas here, you got to walk up to each vendor. Hopefully, this is getting a change in Season 2. Like I said, Season 2 is up in the air. We don't know what's getting changed. So I have to assume that it's going to stay relatively the same to this. So what you typically do is you find items, you walk up to this guy, and then he allows you to sell whatever items you want. You need favor to sell an item. Oh, and then you can ask for whatever amount of gold that you want. So I listed this item right here for 218 favor, and I'm asking for 10,000 gold. It hasn't sold yet. That's all good. And it's the same thing too if you want to buy something, right? So if I want to buy these gloves, I have to pay 0 gold, and then I need to also have 4,240 favor. All right, so let's break down what you need and what you get in Merchant's Guild. So starting with tier 1, you can sell all items and buy basic items. So this allows you to buy your normals, magic, and rares. And then you can sell whatever item you're finding. So like, let's say you're leveling. This is your first character. You just got into Merchant's Guild. You kill something and it dropped a Twisted Heart. It's not, but let's say it does. It drops a Twisted Heart. Well, even if you're just rank 1 in Merchant's Guild, you can turn around and sell that Twisted Heart right off the bat. I think that's cool. And you can ask for whatever amount of gold. You just have to have favor to be able to sell it. You can buy set items at rank 2. This is also going to be a lot stronger now going into season 2, just because you're going to be able to break these down for shards and craft set items. Buy specific unique items. All right, so this one, when you're starting a new season, a fresh new economy, and everybody's trying to level up Merchant's Guild, you'll notice for a while at least the no LP unique items sell for a lot more than LP items and legendaries because nobody can buy them yet. To be able to buy those items, you need to be in this section, right? So level 3, you might be looking for that build defining unique, and so might be a lot of other people, and other people are going to charge a grip. Who knows? Buy all idols. You can buy all idols in the bazaar or directly from other players. So I'm going to point this out. So you notice how it says or directly from other players. So right now, this is disabled. It was part of a gold dupe, if I'm not mistaken. You used to be able to trade directly with other Merchants Guild players, and you would still have to use the favor and all that. But I think because of the way that the direct trade was working, it was creating like a gold dupe or something. I don't know. One of the ways they fixed it was by disabling this, and it might be permanently removed from the game. The only way you can do it now is to buy it on the bazaar. Number 5, you can buy exalted weapons and offhands. This one's very nice. Buy exalted armor, buy unique weapons and offhands. So this one includes legendary potential for weapons. Buy all exalted items. So this is your rings. So yeah, like your rings, your relics, your whatever exalted, you can buy it. You can buy all uniques, right? Anything that has legendary potential, relics, uniques, rings, whatever. And then you can buy legendary weapons, legendary armor, and all legendary items. By the time you get here, you can buy whatever you see on here. You will need favor. You will need favor for that. And that's all right. So here's the best way to play Merchant's Guild. It's to go around, look and see what people are selling, and then try and undercut them, right? And then try and look specifically for what you got. So they added a bunch of new items with the refresh. So not in cycle 1.1, but the refresh. They added a whole host of quality of life. You can now just straight up look for, you know, I want to buy an atrophy. Boom, just search for it. Oh, look, I can get an atrophy for 0 gold, 1,056 favor instantly. And you can click on gold, you can click on lowest to highest. So by default, it'll show you what was just added, right? It'll show you what was just added, the newest first, but then you can also click on lowest to highest. So one way you can undercut a market, obviously atrophy is not a good choice, but one way you can undercut a market is to see what item you have, go do some research, See what other, similar things, like let's say it was let's say it was subtype all classes Eternal Gauntlets, and you had T6 mana on it. Okay, so starting lowest to highest, you see the cheapest one is 50,000 gold for T6 mana. Now, let's say you think to yourself, I don't care, I'll list it for 45,000. Well, guess what? If somebody is looking for T6 mana on Eternal Gauntlets, and they look up Eternal Gauntlets, and they click lowest to highest, yours is going to be right there. Excuse me. So, also one thing I'm going to point out before we proceed, another tip and trick. Look at the forging potential. So you see this right here, somebody already crafted on this. Apparently they either got what they wanted and want to sell it now, or they didn't get what they wanted, so they're trying to turn a profit. So this person's asking for 500,000 for this. So you might see these stats and be like, oh, okay, cool, I can edit it a little bit. Nah, watch out for that. All right, so pay attention to your forging potential. One thing you might be thinking to yourself is, you know what? I got a lot of gold. I got a lot of favor. Let's go find something. Let me go buy up all the... Here, let me show you a fun one, right? Let me go buy all the champion regalia with health. Right? So let's take T6... health. But I thought I put T6. T6 health. Let's look for that. Okay, so let's say you see this and you think to yourself, you know what? I'm going to buy that. There's no longer any T6 health on the market. I'm going to craft on it, or I'm just going to turn around and flip it. I'm going to sell it for more. Well, you can't do that. Once it is faction tagged, you cannot grab any more of it. All right. So one thing that you have to do with Merchant's Guild is you have to know what will sell. Obviously, in Season 2, it's going to be a lot different with all the runes coming to the game. But one thing you have to be aware of, you have to think to yourself, what are the meta builds? What are super popular? And then you have to design your loot filter around that and then pick up those items and sell them. So what I did for my loot filter, and if you guys are interested in this loot filter, I can put it in the description down below. I recolored anything with a T7 that typically sells. Boom. Anything with a T7 that doesn't always sell, it's just a random T7 affix, I listed it there. And then that's a T6 affix that normally sells. And then anything in light blue is what I was looking for my current build, right? So then you can customize this even more. It might take a lot, but then you can turn around and sell some of those items on the market. The thing about Merchant's Guild is, I think Merchant's Guild is the most powerful of the factions when a lot of people are playing. Right now, this cycle's been going on for about 7 months since the refresh. Not a lot of people are playing. There might be more people playing now because they're interested in checking the game out and they're trying out Merchant's Guild, but for the most part, the economy is a little stale, in my opinion. Some items are hard to find, and I'm trying to think here. I think I'm having a brain fart here. Yeah, so some items are hard to find, and it's whatever. But if you're playing where there's a ton of people playing in Merchant's Guild, I can see this being very powerful. So let's make sure I covered everything. So you talk to this guy, you can sell him. Tips I have for Merchant's Guild is create a loot filter with affixes that sell. You can even be more specific and look for base types that can sell. Good thing about selling is you can go to just this homie right here and sell everything. But if you want to buy something, you have to go to each individual vendor. Hopefully that gets changed in the future. And don't expect to be able to buy a red ring. I think that's very fair. Let's go ahead and look up red ring of Atlaria search. So yeah, so the cheapest red ring you can get right now is 188,88,88 million. All right. Oh, and one final tidbit for Merchant's Guild. Typically, what you do is you go out there farming, trying to find stuff that sells so you can buy the gear that you want. If you look at my gear right now, it's good. I was able to get up and going pretty quick, but I bought everything except for like 2 pieces. Everything else was purchased. And for me personally, I like Circle of Fortune for the blasting and not having to find everybody else's gear. Like, I'm pretty sure it's the same thing over here. So the cool thing is, if you can find that one piece of gear and sell it for a mint, you could potentially buy everything you need. Anyway, let's go into my conclusion. It'll be another talking head. All right, guys, that was my deep dive into Circle of Fortune versus Merchant's Guild. I have played both. This is the conclusion. So if you just skipped ahead to see what I got to say, hi, how's it going? So in conclusion, I feel like Merchant's Guild is the most powerful, but it also is the most volatile. Whenever there's a gold dupe, the market gets thrown into chaos. Hopefully there's no more gold dupes. There wasn't any gold dupe for the cycle refresh, but not a ton of people came back. So here's what happened with me when I played in the cycle refresh. I got ahead really quick because I knew what I wanted for my build. I was playing a meta build that unfortunately other people were playing as well, so they were asking for a ton of money for some of those pieces, and so I had to kind of settle for second best. But I was able to get ahead pretty quick and then farm a lot of what I needed, and then along the way I was looking for the gear that I needed to go ahead and sell to make money on the market to build it up. I find that Circle of Fortune scales a lot better with corruption in terms of the favor per hour. I find that metric a lot more favorable, pun intended, I guess, for Circle of Fortune, because, you know, though you're trying to crank out as many items as possible, they are the mass production, so to speak. Also, I think I should mention this right now. If you're playing an offline, or if you're playing solo character found or solo account found, you have to play Circle of Fortune. You have to be an online character to play Merchant's Guild. So here's what I think I'm going to do in the next season for me personally. I think I'm going to start Merchant's Guild. And then I'm going to get ahead quickly, and then I'm going to try and farm up some gear, and then switch over to Circle of Fortune. Because in my opinion, it's a lot easier to switch from Merchant's Guild to Circle of Fortune than Circle of Fortune to Merchant's Guild. So one thing that you're not going to be able to do in conclusion, so you can switch factions, but one thing you can't do is wear gear that is faction tagged. So stuff that is like that you bought off the market, you can't use it. Stuff that you found while doing prophecies, you can't use it if you're on the other faction. This is why I think it's easier for Merchant's Guild to switch over to Circle of Fortune, because what's going to happen is you're going to get ahead quick. People are going to be playing. They're going to be flooding the market, and then people want to go play something else. Maybe they're more casual, and they just want to play on the weekends. And so over time, the player base will drop. That's natural for any action RPG. And as time goes on, Circle of Fortune gets stronger because you've had more time to get more favor. You had time to, optimize your gear. You're starting to push higher and higher corruption. Let's say you're using like a super high-end meta build. You were able to get into around 1,000 corruption. You're generating a ton of favor. You're doing a ton of prophecies per hour. You're just getting a massive amount of loot. You got a super tight loot filter. A lot of the build guides I was putting out near the end of this cycle were freaking nuts. And that was Circle of Fortune that I've been playing for months. It was in Legacy. I will say there was a step up for being in Legacy, but I was farming 1,000 corruption with some of these builds, and just the amount of loot and the loot filters I had programmed, it was insane. But if a ton of people stick around this season for Merchant's Guild, I don't think Circle of Fortune will be able to touch it. But it's because of that I think it's because of that though. I don't think a ton of people are going to be sticking around for 4 months. I think it will dwindle down, because I feel like that happens in any game that has trade, and then I feel like Circle of Fortune will pick up in the end. So very long explanation here, guys, but thank you for being here. I appreciate it. Thank you so much for 1,000 subs, and you guys take care. Before I go, if I got anything wrong, or if you want to add any advice and tips, sound off in the comments down below. Anyway, you guys leave a like and possibly subscribe. Peace out.